You can also
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ruck Buttercup podcast. We are here today with one of my newest favorite people. She is a total rock star. She is one of the sweetest individuals I've met in the longest time, and she is truly out here to support and love and build up the military community, especially our spouses. So I'm so excited to have her on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Jessica.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. This is so fun.
I know podcasts are so much fun. It's such a fun time to kind of get together, chat, learn about different resources and programs that are out there for the military community. And I genuinely think what you guys are doing is just so fantastic. It's literally my dream. I don't know who I was telling this to the other day, but I was like, Jessica and Tess are doing what I've always wanted to do. I wanted to do the big conferences, and I love that you guys are doing that, and I can support it from my end because I think that the spouses that are attending your guys' programs are walking away with just even not just knowledge, just the knowledge that they're getting from the local resources that are there and all that kind of stuff, but just a little pep in their step to be like, I'm not alone. I'm not
Yeah.
alone. I'm not going through this alone. And there are other people out there who genuinely see me and want to love on me and all the things. So we'll dive into that a little bit. But let's first find out who Jessica Manfre is. So why
Oh
don't
my
you tell us
gosh.
about your journey a little bit?
It's if I had talked to younger me and been like, hey, this is what your life's going to look like, I would have laughed. And I
Same.
love that. I absolutely love that. I think that's just the power of really embracing your journey as your journey and not comparing yourself to others. I was raised by a single mother. My father left when I was 3 years old, but I was raised by a Vietnam veteran. I had an uncle who opened his home to my mother and her two daughters. And everything that he taught me was the foundation for who I would become, like the lessons learned. And so unfortunately, he left my life at 13. He died very young. And I also had a grandfather, same thing. He was a Korean War vet. The lessons learned were just monumental. He also passed away by the time I was 17. So, like, there was a lot of loss, right? And me trying to figure out who I was going to be and what I was going to do. I met my husband 2 years after that. I was 19 years old. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I was on a break from college, barely taking classes. And I met this guy that I just felt like had it all together. Of course, he was older, but he was so goal oriented and so focused. And he too had a rough upbringing. But that was like the proof positive that, okay, I made this decision to enlist in the military. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my future. And he was just such an inspiration to me. I'll just say that. Within a year and a half, I was moving with him across the state as one does. Active duty Coast Guard, he decided to go on a patrol boat. And it was so cute because he was like, it's just a patrol boat. We're only out, it's an 87-foot patrol boat, just to give context to the listeners. So typically they're out, this was Cape Canaveral. They do escorts for NASA. They're doing some migrant stuff. They don't do the big Coast Guard stuff because they're smaller, we'll say. He lied to me, Ashley. Lied
Oh, but they do that all
to
the
me.
time.
Baby, we weren't married, but I was 21 years old and he was just gone all the time. And so I definitely cried and stained clothing and rented Grey's Anatomy over and over again from Blockbuster because I'm old enough to reference Blockbuster.
Yes.
And then I was like, what am I going to do? And I'm going to be real with
Mhm.
you. We made the decision to live, and his father had a vacation property in Daytona. That was 70 miles from the ship and the
Mhm.
base. So I had no military spouses. I had no tribe, if you will. So I had to figure it out. So it was like I made the decision to go to work full time, go to school full time at night, and figure out my life. And for me, that was service and serving others. So I am a licensed clinical social worker now. I do still practice and see patients part time. They are all military. It's very important to me to serve my community. And then I'm really blessed, as you referenced earlier, to be the director of MilSpouseFest. I'm a military events manager, so I will dip my toes in our MIC Unplugged events and our military influencer conference. I have the greatest team and the greatest bosses ever. I've done a
Yeah.
lot of jobs. You know this. As a spouse,
Yeah.
your resume looks like a terrorist, right?
Look,
Like,
no, listen, I joke about it all the time, and I don't know if I said that while I was at the MilSpouseFest, but mine looks like I literally just Googled random jobs that were in the location that we were located at, and I just copied and pasted it. Straight up, it makes no sense whatsoever. Nothing connects, nothing, not a thing.
no,
Not a
no, like
thing.
people wouldn't look at me with my master's in social work and be like, oh, you were in finance? You worked for banks for years? Yeah, I
Mhm.
did. And then the financial, we won't even go down that route. But the point is, what I tell spouses often is this life is not without challenges. I
Yeah.
will never be someone that's going to sugarcoat it. You will absolutely have challenges that your civilian friends will never understand, period. That doesn't mean that you can't still do the things you want to do. It's just going to look different. That path is going to look different. I was doing my finals for my bachelor's degree with my baby crying in my husband's arms, a room away. I graduated 3 months after I had him. Okay, I didn't have the typical college experience. That's
Yeah.
okay. I still pursued it. And my life is nothing like I would have imagined, but also everything that I'd hoped
Yeah.
for because little girl me wanted to help people. Here we are.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to kind of point out because, like, not similar story, but a little bit different. I've always had that drive to help people. I was like, oh, I want to go into the healthcare field or something like that. But then I was like, I'm not book smart, or I have just my brain just isn't wired to remember all the things I would need to remember for that. And so I was like, okay, how else can I help families? And I was like, I have such a love for the military community. I grew up military. I was a military brat. My dad and my husband were deployed at the same time, guys.
Oh my gosh.
My dad was still in service while I don't know, I had my first kid. He was retiring when my son, I believe Devlin was turning 2 when he retired. And
Wild.
and it's not like I had kids. I didn't have Devlin until I was 26. It should be pointed out that you can do what you put your mind to. And
Mm-hmm.
even though there were hard times, if you've been a follower of our podcast before, you've heard that I was let go from a job because I was a military spouse and that I was just taking jobs because that was what I could get, whether it was a dock and door company writing contracts to being a behavioral health specialist, which is what I wanted to do. But it just, again, every state was different. And so I just took what came my way and it was super frustrating. And when Deployed Love fell into my lap, like I do this volunteer, guys. I do everything for Deployed Love. The podcast is 100% volunteer because I truly believe the importance of supporting and loving on military families and making sure that they feel seen and heard. And so when you get to connect with organizations like the MilSpouseFest and other amazing ones out there that you guys hear me talk about all the time, it just shows that one, there was a need. Someone felt that there is a need out there to support families because they went through something, they didn't have the support, they didn't have whatever the case may be. We'll just leave it at that because we could talk about that all day long. That there is people out there to
Mm-hmm.
support and love on you. And so
Yeah.
normally a lot of that comes from an individual's background. And it sounds like you were like, I didn't have the support when I was a young
Oh.
military dependent. And so how did you find yourself? First off, Jessica's right. The entire team for MilSpouse Fest and all the branches out are phenomenal. I have only had amazing encounters with every single one. I literally joked with Jess the other day on LinkedIn. Don't tempt me with a good time. I will come to all of the events if I can.
Roadshow.
I was like, it was genuinely just the best. So let's talk about how did you come a part of the MilSpouse family?
Oh my gosh. So, as we talked about, my resume is all over the place, right? So, I love that you were a behavioral health specialist because for 8 years I served adults and children with developmental disabilities. So, I was a director of supported living and I would work with you guys as you would come into the homes that I was
Yeah.
supporting. And it was just like the work you do is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So,
Anyone who works in that field, hats
oh,
off. I loved it so much while I was there. I worked with a company in Alaska when we were stationed at J Bear, and all of these kids were also in foster care. So
yeah.
you definitely had this special place in your heart and for these kids, but they were also just very traumatic lifestyles, and it puts life in perspective for you that your life isn't really that shitty.
It really
um,
does. I think it's
yeah,
comparable to veterans that deploy and they go to
yes,
these third world countries. It changes their perspective on what they
yes.
have at home. And I think if you can experience that, if you can do stuff like that, or like I worked with at risk youth and you go into these homes and it's just, wow. Okay. Wow.
And I think they're going to be like, oh my God, Ashley's going to say it again. Have the grace with your service member and the people around
Yes.
you because you're not going to fully understand what they go through. As much as Jeremy was in Afghanistan during the drawdown. And we know the stories that we heard about reported on the news and everything like that. Well, it was much worse than that, y'all.
Yeah.
And I Jeremy was like, "This was the hardest thing for me to have ever experienced in my entire life." And he's been on countless deployments, has lost friends, things like that. And he was like, it was so hard to just stand there and see what was happening. And even though he was trying to explain it to me, I could feel sad. I could feel what he was feeling, but I will never truly understand what they go through and all the things. And I say this all the time. Reintegration is the hardest season to navigate. You
It
can
is.
argue with me all day long. I feel reintegration is the hardest. And especially because of those type of things. We might be like, oh, I could have handled that. But really, you're never going to know what you can and can't handle until you're put into that position. And if you're not put in that position, you're not going to be able to say you can and can't handle that. And everyone handles trauma differently. And I think that's where we're having a support system in
Mm-hmm.
all avenues is so important. And going to things like MilSpouseFest, which I think we'll dive deep into after you tell us like how you got involved. What is
Sure.
MilSpouseFest? Because
Yeah.
I think for families, especially families who or spouses who are kind of like, I just don't want to be part of the military community.
Yeah.
And I will never understand that logic. I will never understand how that's my husband's job. I do not need to input myself into that world. I have my own life. Kudos to you if you can handle this life without being a part of any type of military community, whether that's your SFRG or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is for
Yeah.
the branch, or just another group of military spouses, or you're a neighbor, or whatever the case may be, because I've been doing this for over 36 years, guys, and it's very hard to do it without any connection whatsoever within the community because they're going to understand it. They're going to understand what you're going through. They're going to understand the hardships. Say your neighbor's husband's a lineman and they're gone for 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. They're never going to understand. And that's still a very dangerous job, very dangerous,
Absolutely.
all the different things. There's still that level of I understand that kind of concept, but they're not going to understand like all the other burdens, like moving every 2 to 3 years and everything that comes along with it. I think MilSpouseFest does a fantastic job at bringing people together and I don't know, make it like a level playing field of here's information, here's support, and
Mm-hmm.
letting you know. So your resume is all over the place.
It is. It absolutely is. And I would counter what you said for the spouse out there that's, hey, that's his job. That's not me. Absolutely. Neither one of us is saying, hey, you need to own your husband's
Yes.
rank. You need to own
Yeah.
his brand.
Don't need
What
to
we're
wear it.
saying, yeah, what we're saying is an example would be I will probably gravitate towards people and hang out with people who have children
Yep.
because they get the struggle. They get raising a family is hard. And so I'm going to gravitate towards that. I may gravitate towards people of my faith because I'm going to church with them or whatever. I'm using these as examples. My closest friends, the people that I know would jump in front of a bullet for me, are military spouses that live nowhere near me.
Yes.
They, so
Even
I
if
guess
you
I want
haven't
to
talked
stress
to
that.
them in forever, like even if it's someone like I'm one of the worst communicators. It's not because I don't want to communicate, it's just because so many things that I'm doing that I'll be like, "Oh, it's been 3 weeks since I've talked to this person." Oh,
Right.
no. But at the end of the day, we both are like, "Oh, it's fine. It's cool."
If
When
you
do I
sent an
hear it?
SOS
Yeah.
instantly, what do
It's
you need?
same thing. If someone sent me a message like, "Hey, I need you here. Can you get here tomorrow?" I'll be like, "Okay, I'm packing the kids up. I'm coming."
Right.
There there are so many people out there who are going to do that for you.
Yeah.
And military
No,
spouses are
it's,
genuinely the best people. I hate that people
mm-hmm.
see them so negatively through social media because they just see the negativity of what other people do. And I'm just like, that's just life, y'all. I think we
Yeah.
just are bored.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So I just wanted to caveat that. As far as like how I got involved with a team, as one does when they have a very colorful resume, I fell in love with writing. I lost my grandmother when I was, how old was I? I guess I would have been 34. It was 2019. And I reached out to the editor in chief of Military Families Magazine and I inquired, I'm like, has anybody ever written an article about the guilt that we live with as military families for the time that we miss with our family of origin, because you're lucky if you get to be home with them for a year. I was racked with guilt. Could I have been there more?
Yeah.
Could I have? All of those
Yeah.
thoughts. And Bianca said, no, but you should.
Yeah.
And so that started the writing journey, and I just fell in love with it. And I think it goes hand in hand with being a therapist and a social worker. Storytelling is just here. Tessa was hired as the editor-in-chief of We Are the Mighty. That's one of the brands that's under the military vertical of Recurrent Military and Defense. And I was her first military spouse hire. So I started writing for them and loved it. I would do the features for the Mighty 25. That was my project for 5 years. And then in 2023, Catherine Pummel, who's now the general manager of Recurrent Military and Defense, she came to me and she was like, hey, would you want to help out a little bit with the social media of MSF, MilSpouseFest? And would you want to be on the ground for the events? And I'm like, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
I was practicing as a therapist, but I was missing something. Still writing for We Are the Mighty. So I jumped on board. I worked with Denya Divine. She's an incredible human being. She ran MSF for years. We grew the social media, we grew the events. And then in 2024, they asked me to come full time. And at that time, I was going to be shared between the Military Influencer Conference and MilSpouseFest. And that was a wild year. But then when 2025 started, we didn't have a director. And I was, of course, being me and who I am, I was like, I'll do it. I can do this and all of the things. I can do it. I almost died, yeah, I lost half my hair, but I will live on this hill that I feel just as much impact in my abilities and the things that I do for MilSpouseFest as I do when I have a patient across from me.
Yeah.
I think connection and community are just as important for mental wellness as you seeing someone when you're struggling. And that was my journey. So I've known the team forever. We really are one big, giant family. I say big, but we're really not. It's a very small, very small team, though it's growing. And it has been the joy of a lifetime to work with them. And as a military spouse, the flexibility of the fact that I work remotely, other than when I have to travel to events, which is a lot. I do a lot of events this year.
It's you guys did a lot this year. I feel like you guys tripled the number of bases that you guys were visiting this year. And I think that's phenomenal. But I was like, oh, she's got to be like running on. It's so funny because like when I left the MilSpouseFest for Benning, so I got to attend one of these events for the first time this year. I had not been able to attend the last 2 years. How long have they been going on for? The MilSpouseFest?
This is the 10th year, actually.
Is it? Oh my gosh. I was thinking that because I knew Mick has been happening for years.
Well, we bought MSF in 2022. So technically it's only been ours for that long.
Okay. Because I was like, so this was my very first experience in it. And again, guys, I've totally wormed myself in there. I literally saw Jess's post on the Facebook page. I was like, hey, how can I support this? Because I love this. Like, how can I help you? And easy. Like, again, like you guys will hear me probably talk about this all season long because I think it's so important. But like, why not? Like, why just take that leap of faith? Just take that step of just trying something new. Mm-hmm. I step outside of comfort zone. You never know what it's going to bring to you. We've talked about this in other episodes where that's what brought me to Deployed Love. That's what's brought me to the podcast. It's what literally has brought me back to life because I was so lost before I came into this world. And I think that it's so funny, but what I was going to say is when I was leaving, I was like one of the last people out. Isabel was there with us from LOGSA. And we've been friends for a few years. We've been connected. They have been a great supporter of Deployed Love. And so she was just chatting away. So everybody was already broken down. So like I got her all packed and we left. And Tessa took a little power nap in her car in the van. And I walked out and we had been standing outside talking we were talking to a couple other spouses outside. And I turn around and Tess just pops out. She goes, okay, I'm refreshed. Let's go. And she went back inside and was come in there to help get ready for the evening portion of the event. And I was just like, okay, that's a vibe. I love that how she just went in there, took like a 20-minute power nap.
And everyone should know that I always rent a minivan every time we go to an MSF because you put everything flat, everything fits, and she has a power nap spot.
I just thought it was so funny. I was so tickled because I was just like, have you been in there the whole time, Tess? Because we've been out there for an hour and it was hot. And I was like, please tell me you had the car on. You weren't about to just die of a heat stroke. You're in Georgia right now. But it was so funny. I thought it was so funny. But I think that also just showed me the passion and the drive and the commitment that you two have for this program, because you guys were the fact that Jess literally ran circles around us at this event, because there was just like every time I look at her, she would just be zooming by holding a baby. BTW was holding this teeny tiny thing, which I was so jealous of. I was like, how dare she get to have all the squishy snuggles? And I'm sitting over here with no baby in my arm. And I love that you guys were like, no, like, you're here to enjoy this event. Let us snuggle into this baby so you can participate in all the
Mm-hmm.
activities and stuff like that. And it was so funny. Like, Jess and Tess were just bouncing this sweet little baby around, but still running around doing all the things that they needed to do. And I think that is a very clear demonstration of who you guys are and what you do and why it's so important to our families, because you don't see that from everybody. You don't see that type of commitment and support from every single organization, where it feels like you've known you for. I feel like I've known Jess forever, and I've maybe have talked to her for maybe 20 minutes at the event in person because of how busy she was. But I feel like, oh, Jess has just been there on the sideline for
Yeah.
forever. But that's just how you've come across to me and how you have portrayed. And there's never been like this formal. Earlier she was like, hey, can we push this back 30 minutes so I can still go my baby goat? And I was like, yes. And I'm jealous that you're snuggling a baby goat right now. And then she sent me a picture and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. this
So
is
fun.
this is the type of community that we need, and the support, because it's so important. So
Mm-hmm.
MilSpouse has been around for a lot longer, and you guys have gone to several installations already this year,
Yep.
and you have 4 more this year?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of where we are. So we have four more. We have four
Okay.
more.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
and you're going overseas this year. Is this the first time overseas, or
Yeah.
is this I'm so excited. So for
It
our overseas
is.
listeners, MilSpouse is
We're
coming your
pumped.
way.
We're so pumped. So USA is our title sponsor, and Stacy Holt runs the military spouse side of things. She's absolutely phenomenal. We love her. She's a Marine Corps spouse. I think her husband served over 30 years. She gets it
Yeah.
to the core. And so yeah,
And
international
I
was.
feel like you see Stacy everywhere. If you're
Oh yeah.
attending any of these virtual conferences and summits, so if you've gone to Pillar, you know who
Yep.
Stacy is. If you AWAG, you know who Stacy is. Like,
Yep.
she's everywhere, because again, she truly is.
She lives
I'm
and
going
breathes
to make
it.
sure the support is there where I can. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
she
phenomenal.
lives and breathes it. So this year we will kick off our international tour by going to South Korea. We're doing events at Osan Air Force Base and Camp Humphreys, and then we'll wrap up MSF for the year in Puerto Rico on December 1st. And to be honest with you, that is the one I'm the most nervous about
Is Puerto Rico?
because it's Puerto Rico. Nobody has ever gone there. We're going to try and really hard to offer some sort of bilingual, because down there it's heavy Coast Guard
Yeah.
and Army National Guard, and they just don't get anything. And so I just want
Yeah.
to come correct. And so that's the one that I think I'm stressing over, just making sure that we do it right. But next year, my gosh, yeah, it's going to be wild. I think we're
Oh, I
shooting for
cannot wait for
four.
next year.
Yeah,
I was like, I literally was telling her, I was like, I cannot wait for Jeremy to be home, so that way I could be like, peace out, guys. I'm going to be at all the MilSpouseFest.
gotta go, gotta go.
And it's so funny because Norfolk is in May, and initially I wasn't going to be able to go, but I was like, ooh, I may actually be able to sneak it in if I get back from this trip in time. And I'm not making promises to anyone who's in the Norfolk area that I will be there, but if I happen to get back in that area and we fly back into that area, I might just be like, okay, we're going. And then the kids can, and that was what was great, is kids are welcome to come to this event too. Don't let that be a deterrent. Obviously, if you have a child who just won't sit still and you're going to be stressed the whole time, then maybe find a sitter, maybe find someone to watch your kids. But there were so many kids at Benning, and of all ages. We had homeschool kids, we had babies. There were all over the place in between, like all ranges.
Yeah,
And it
that's
was
one of the
so fun
first
to see.
things. One of the first things I changed was it used to be just babies were allowed, but then when I
Yeah,
took over, I was like, "Hey, this is a massive barrier. Bring
it
your
is a
kids.
massive
Hey,
barrier.
yeah, bring your kids. If they go feral, as kids do, listen, we get it. Just take them
Just
out, take them
move
to
'em.
another room, calm them
And
down. I'm going to provide activities to keep them busy. Everybody has kids. It's okay.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest things for Deployed Love is we wanted to make sure that there wasn't that barrier for
Right.
families or for people who wanted to volunteer. We always make it where your kids can come along. My kids volunteer at every single event and they love it. We are doing our Purple Up event and Claire's, I can't wait to help. And I was like, that's great. You can totally help, but you can also participate as well if
Right.
you're a military kid too. But it's really great. And I think it's really important because, especially for someone who grew up military, being
Yeah.
able to see my mom was its involvement was very different from when I was growing up to now. I feel like there's a
Right.
lot more things for spouses to get involved that are not very that stereotypical officer wife club. That's how it was when I was growing up. It was that very we're only
See.
part of that group. Yeah. My mom, I did see my mom, but I remember like, babysitting for town halls and stuff like that. My dad would be like, "Hey, are you willing to watch some of these younger kids so the parents can focus?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll do it for free. That's great." Then if they want to hire me for a babysitter later, like it was like this little marketing
Well, look
tactic. I
at
was
you,
like, absolutely.
entrepreneur.
I know. And I totally got babysitting jobs from it too. But it was great because we would be in another room and we just do coloring and have a movie and do music on or something like that, whatever we had available to us. And doing that as a kid, getting to see like how helpful that was to
Hmm.
families was so important. It kind of just stuck in my brain and volunteering stuck in my brain. We volunteered for the Fisher House while we lived over in Europe at Launch Stool, especially we were there during the really high time of casualties and injuries and stuff like that were
Surge.
coming through
Yeah.
Launch Stool. So Launch Stool the Fisher House at Launch Stool was very active. And so I remember going over there with my mom several times, just help putting toiletry kits together and things like that. And I when I had kids, I was like, I want to make sure that's instilled in them too. Like how they
Yeah.
can see that supporting families is really important or supporting any platform that they feel strongly about is important, but seeing access service in real time is so important. And so I think that having kids come to these events is so good, especially for families who don't have a support system in place. I
Right.
think I talked when I was at MilSpouseFest, I was like one of the questions I was, how long have you been at Benning? And I would say a good 60% of the responses were, "Oh, we've only been here for 4, 5, 6 months, give or take."
Hmm.
And then I was like, "Is this your first duty station?" They're like, "Yeah." So I'm like, "Okay, so not only are these brand new baby spouses who are coming into this world, they're coming into this world and then they're put into a new location and they have no support system." And some
Hmm.
of them had friends that they were coming along with and some were not and some were solo, and I was like, well, "Hey, my inbox is open. If you need support, please don't hesitate to
Hmm.
reach out." Left and right of me, I was like, they're also because I had Isabel from Logza on one side, who is the military spouse of the year for Fort Bragg and is also the Army finalist. And then I had Alyssa, who was on my other side, who works with a whole bunch of different organizations, including Deployed Love. And I was like, I know both of these girls too. So I was like, please don't hesitate to reach out. And it was so fun because we were all just bouncing off of each other saying, oh, did you know about Deployed Love? Oh, do you know about iStroll or Instateam or Logza or whatever the case may be? And it was so fun to hear. And then of course, I had Emma saying on the other side, like straight across from me, like going, hey, go see Ashley. And it was just really fun. And I think that just seeing other organizations talk about each other and lift and be like, oh, this is a great resource for this and this is a great resource for
Yep.
this. So important. And I think
Room.
there's room for everyone. There's a seat at the table for every single person. Like
Absolutely.
I and if there's no more room at the table, we'll get a bigger table.
Yeah.
It's that simple, y'all.
Yeah. I have a friend who basically is, her whole motto is not circles, horseshoes. Like we're always,
Yes. Yes. I love that mentality. And I'm loving to see more and more organizations shift focus and have that mindset of, oh, like it doesn't have to be a competition. It isn't a
no.
competition. We're here to support military families. And we're going to do that by this is how we're going to do it, or this is how we're going to do it. And I think that as long as programs and advocates are doing that, then our families are going to be equipped with an amazing toolbox to navigate this lifestyle. It's so important because we all go through different seasons. That's our motto this year too. I'm actually wearing our necklace. So no one path, not one path. So not every journey is going to look the same. There's going to, even if you're on the same company, same MOS, same everything, your journey is still maybe parallel, but it's still going to look different because of everything that goes into it. Your family dynamics, your career aspirations. Are you wanting to be a full timer? Or are you just wanting to do your 4 years and move on with your life? So much comes into play with that. And the comparison game just really just needs to just
And it needs to end.
non-existent. Yeah. I with our modern times right now of what's happening in the world, I've had so many people send us messages and asking us, do you have tips? Do you have advice? Is this normal? And I was like, yo, nothing's normal in this
Right.
lifestyle. I don't know why I see so many posts going, hey, this happened. Is this normal? That might be your normal, babe. That
Right.
is not something you can take what someone else went through and, okay, cool. This happened to this person the same way, and this is the outcome. So maybe that'll be my outcome. But also know at the end of the day, that journey is not going to be the same. But we all
No.
have lived and experienced enough to be able to support each other and provide tips and tricks on how to navigate it. But at the end of the day, you have to choose what's best for your family
Right.
to navigate that life. Yeah. So we have several fests coming up. You're worried about Puerto Rico. I'm very excited for, like, you're nervous. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great because I know that we've had people reach out to us and be like, is there deployed love at Puerto Rico? And I was like, do you want to volunteer? Because then there will be. Because everyone's, how do we get a deployed love? I was like, I just need a volunteer who wants to run the
Hmm.
social events and stuff. And I know that it's a need there. I know
Yeah.
that people are asking for that, especially our guard families and our reserve families. They don't have the same support that we have,
Right.
um, especially those who are not near the installation per se. And I've gone on 2 special duty assignments that were nowhere near an installation. And I can confirm that it is not fun. It is not fun going through things that you don't have someone to just have someone be like, at the end of the day, snuggling up on the couch and watching a Bridgerton series and just
Hmm.
being like, really sucks. Our husbands are working really late again tonight.
Right.
Not all of our spouses have that. And so if you're listening and you are a guard or reserve spouse, please reach out to at least Deployed Love and the MilSpouse Fest because you guys can attend. I think we had people from Benny, and I think Isabel said that there were people who drove up to 4 hours. Travel, go to these events if you can. I promise you it's worth it. I keep saying this, it was such a good time.
Yeah.
The atmosphere alone, if you just want to go for the atmosphere alone, it was worth it. But getting to talk to other resources, and what's cool about it is every fest is different. There's different topics, there's different guests, there's different resources, and it was, I don't know how else to say it, guys, but it's a good time. So I hope you guys go to the ones that are coming up. I know Norfolk is coming up.
San
Um,
Diego.
San Diego, which I know there's a ton of listeners on here from our West Coast. Check it out. It's coming overseas. I'm super excited that you guys get to go overseas. I'm like, how can I jump in on this bandwagon? But no, it genuinely is such a good program. And I think that your guys' passion shines through so much. Just being in the room and seeing you guys connect with other spouses. I remember sitting there at one point and just watching you and Tess talk to families. And I was just like, you can tell that you love what you do. And I think that
100%.
makes it shine so much.
Yeah, you have to love what you do. The
You
thing
do.
is we all, if you're working, you are spending a good chunk of your life with people that are not your family, not your friends.
Yeah.
And so you have to really love what you do. You have to love the people that are around you, and whatever it is, that matters at the end of the day. It makes a massive difference. And for us, that is the best part of the day, is connecting with everyone.
Yeah.
Hearing their stories. Tessa will often ask, how many of you in here came alone not knowing anyone? And between 40 and 60% of the room will raise their
Yeah.
hand. And I always say, I don't know if I could be that brave as a young spouse, as a brand new spouse. I don't know if I would have been that brave. We're in this 25 years now at this point,
Yeah.
or 21 for me, 25 for him serving. But I don't know if I would have been that brave to just be like, oh, let me go alone. Older me, I always say there's like before kids Jessica and after kids Jessica. There's
Yeah.
something
We
about having children
grow.
that changed
We
me.
grow. We
Yeah.
learn that we
Yeah.
can't sit. And I think that's, again, I'm going to say it again, guys. that why not just take that leap of faith? You never know if you're going to meet your new best friend. You're not going to
Mhm.
know if you are going to come across an organization where you're just like, dang, that is exactly what I needed. Like,
Right.
I needed this. And I'm so excited to see that there are so many people who are coming out solo. And one, that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. That person needed support.
Mhm.
That person needed a community. And if you are one of those individuals who have attended one of these events, I hope that you continue to take that next step forward and utilizing those resources there, because all these resources, whether it's Deployed Love, the MilSpouseFest, Military Spouse Advocacy Network, I can list and list, Blue Star Family, all these different programs, they're there for a reason.
Mhm.
And all the individuals who are volunteering or in a paid position or whatever the case may be, they're there because they truly believe in the mission. They believe that it takes a village to support a village. You can't do this alone. You cannot do this life alone. What's the word I want to look for? I almost challenge you, if you think you can do this alone, to really deeply reflect on how you are navigating life, and if you are truly navigating this life well in terms of mental health and physical health and all the things, and see if you are actually thriving. And you may be that one off who is doing a phenomenal job, and good for you, but truly you cannot navigate military life without some form of
Mhm.
support.
Agreed.
And these spouses are taking their time to make sure that you guys have it. So I'm always one of those people who I'm like, go to the events. I see you guys saying you need a community. I see you guys saying you don't have friends. Okay. I know for Benning, we have so many different organizations who host just social events, whether
Mhm.
they're just a meetup, like a play date or a coffee meetup or like some type of club. Go to the events, because they're only going to continue to happen if you guys utilize them. And or say you're coming or not coming, so that way they're prepared for it. I just think that if we're going to, I don't want to say complain, because I don't want to sound negative, but if we're going to go onto social media and kind of complain about not having a
If
community,
we're gonna
not
vent,
having support,
yeah. If we're gonna, yeah, exactly.
we can only do so much as advocates, and as programs we can only do so much. We can provide the programs, we can provide the support, we can provide the love,
Mhm.
but it also takes you guys to take that leap of faith and saying, today is the day, I'm gonna go. And if it's not
Yeah.
the right fit, it's not the right fit. There's so many of us out here, guys. There's so many programs. If you come to a Deployed Love and you're just like, just wasn't vibing with that coordinator, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Go there, try out a Blue Star program, try out a virtual event, something like that. So I guess my point of this whole thing is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I know it can be terrifying, but I know from
Yeah.
my point, like, if you come to one of my events, please just say hi. So I know you're there for me, because we typically are always meeting in a public place. So I always feel
Mhm.
bad that if we're somewhere and I'm always, are you guys here for Deployed Love? No? Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm Ashley. So if you have any questions about us, let me know, or if you would like to come to any of our events. But I just wanted to make sure, because like I saw you guys are here and it giving me like this look. And so, because I know some people are shy and introverted,
Mhm.
but make sure you guys at least come over and say hi. So we know that you're there, because we know, at least all of my coordinators right now, I have a lot of extroverts on my team right now, and they are phenomenal. And they feel so bad when someone was like, oh, I came, but no one said hi. And they're like, where were you? We didn't, what? But I think like MilSpouseFest is a great stepping stone if you want to kind of dip your toe into
Mhm.
something where you could go solo and
Mhm.
sit next to somebody and have a good chat and
And
still
we build that into
participate.
the day. You know,
Yeah,
we're
you
gonna
guys do.
build
You did
weight.
a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
I
we're
actually,
gonna build that into it.
super fun story. I actually found a spouse during the activity you guys did at Benny, who lives right down the street from me, and I was like, I literally squealed with joy when I found out that she lived right down the road, because I was just like, I finally met someone in the neighborhood. I
That's so
have
fun.
lived here since August. I was so excited. And that would have never happened if it hadn't been for that, because my kids don't go to school. We're homeschooling this year. And so we don't have that typical, oh, who lives right down the street? Can I go play? I'm like, we
Right.
don't have that because we don't know anybody. You never know, guys. You never know.
Never know. Never know. I definitely think it's a great opportunity. I mean, if nothing else, we're going to feed you all day. We're going to
Yeah.
entertain you. Like,
There's
we're going to give you swag.
prizes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much. You walk away with so much knowledge and again, I feel like you walk away with the feeling of you're not alone. And I think that's important because I feel like so many spouses feel that they're walking through this life alone. And even if you feel like you're like, I have so many friends, but I still feel there's times that I feel that way. There's
Of
times where I'm like,
course.
I have an amazing community. I'll be honest with you guys right now. Right now, I am like treading water, like barely treading water with all the things. And I'm like, oh, like I wish I had a stronger network. And it's not that I don't have a stronger network. It's just all of my friends are in different seasons of life.
It's harder now.
And it's hard for me to it's hard for me to ask them for help because I'm just like, I know the struggles you're going through. I
Right.
know that you
Exactly.
guys can't support this and all the things. So it's okay to have that, but then being able to say, I want more in life and to taking that
Hmm.
step. Good job for you guys. That is phenomenal. And I love that. I love that for every single one of you. And those who have attended will probably be able to tell you guys that it was a great event. They had such a good time. Free food, free entertainment, free. It's just,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And you talking about loneliness, there was a point where our General said that that was the most dangerous thing that our country
Yeah.
was facing. I actually wrote a book on loneliness that it's Christian faith based, but the whole premise was like what that does to us. I examined it from a biblical perspective, but also incorporated my clinical knowledge and just what it can do to your brain, how it impacts your
Yeah.
health. And so it just has far-reaching impacts that we don't necessarily think about. And I don't care how introverted you are, there is someone for you that's going to
Yes.
balance that out and give you whatever it is you need. I think what's unique about MilSpouseFest is yes, we will always have the resources. There's a resource marketplace, I call it. They're all the local companies, nonprofits, and organizations that are there to serve you because I love Military One Source and they're actually one of our partners. They typically come to every event. But when you go to that website, you're like, oh my gosh, where do I go? It's overwhelming. And when I treat folks with anxiety, I love to, they don't know how to explain their anxiety. And I love to bring up the show Hoarders. Have you ever seen Hoarders?
Yes.
If you see some of those houses, like even through the screen, we're overwhelmed. So what do you tackle first, right? And so with things like Military One Source, it's okay, I click here, I go there, okay, I can't, right? And so what we're trying to do is curate that in an intimate setting where you can walk up to the rep, your local rep at Military One Source and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I need help with. You can walk up to Ashley of Deployed Love and say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I need. We're baking in time that you can have that. I'm a huge fan of that. Nobody likes calling a company, pressing this, pressing that. We're eliminating that by creating this event,
Yeah.
essentially. Let's go back to the 90s, guys. That's just my
Yes.
vibe this
Like,
week.
one-on-one, I feel I talk about that. I feel like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I don't wanna go to this." 'Cause I'll see people, for instance, a spouse will be like, "Hey, I wanna do a girls' night," and a bunch of people will show up, and I'm like, "Dang, I just posted the same thing 3 weeks ago, and no 2 people came." And I get that people don't no one wants that corporate feeling
They
anyways.
don't.
But most of these programs, guys, I can only speak from my experience, Deployed Love and MilSpouseFest and Military Spouse Advocacy Network and things and Blue Star. It's not corporate. It's literally just come as you are. And
Mm-hmm.
there's no judgment. No one talks rank. No one talks jobs. Nothing like that. It's just you and that person in front of you in that moment in time. And you're connecting one on one. And I think it's easy for us as millennials who have experienced pre social media and pre all the other things that this is something that I think really needs to come back into play, that
Yeah.
one-on-one human connection. And I think a lot of people are recognizing that, especially because of COVID and all that kind of stuff, like how
Oh,
like we were so
absolutely.
forced to be like
We
just
were
kept apart.
isolated. It was
Yeah.
awful. It was
Yeah.
awful. I never want to go back to that.
Which
I
is
can't
how Deployed Love
imagine.
even really started doing our social events to begin with, because we started off just doing the free photos for servicemen
Mm-hmm.
for families that had service members deployed. That's what started Deployed Love. But then we had families who were coming who were just like, oh, I just wish there was more. I wish there was more
Yes,
community events for us
something.
to go to. Something. And we're like, oh, bet we could easily do this. And that's where we started adding in our social events. And those look different at each installation because each installation has different
Hmm.
needs.
They have different needs.
And I'm gonna put my little plug here, guys. If you want to build a community, I'm looking for volunteers across the country. But we're always looking for individuals who want to build a community. We want this to be, and I think that's anyone who's in our shoes or anything like that. We also get a lot out of this, guys. We not only are we doing this because we know how important it is for the community, but like I need this.
Fills
I
our
need
cup.
the community.
Yeah.
I need to fill my cup. I need to have a purpose in life, and I did not have
Yeah.
that purpose. As much as I love my everyday job, actually, I really hate my everyday job, but because it's a family
Tell
job,
us how you really feel.
just listen, I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to be able to work from home for my family business in North Carolina, but it's not what I would pick for myself.
Right.
And I am a people person. As much as I love working from home, I need that one-on-one interaction with
Hmm.
people. So like when we were in Virginia, I went and substitute teach because I was like, I'm not having community events because I'm not near a military installation. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to insert myself in a different platform and
Yep.
get some connection somehow because I know I'm a creature of habit and I thrive when I'm supporting some
Hmm.
form of a community. And I think that if you are a similar creature of habit and you haven't found your purpose in life because of limitations like childcare, which I think is a huge boundary for a lot of families, cost, whatever the case may be, volunteer. Build your
Hmm.
resume up as you can't work, but if you volunteer for an organization where you can bring your kids along, you're building yourself up for a beautiful future. And I tell that to my coordinators all the time that this is this yes, you're all are doing this because you need community, but this is also helping you benefit you for your future success if you ever
The
decide to go
employers don't
back.
know that you don't get paid for the work that you do. They don't
And
need to
I
know.
mean, it's still a job, guys. I mean,
Absolutely.
my coordinators are doing marketing, program planning,
Hmm.
finances, everything you can think of. They're networking. They're doing anything and everything that companies are looking for. And I'm always like, this is a phenomenal way
Hmm.
to build your resume, whether it's through Deployed Love or another organization. I'm always like,
Hmm.
find something that fits you and what will fill your cup because you don't want to do something you don't enjoy. If you're doing something you don't enjoy, you're going to burn out really quickly and it's just not going to be good for everyone involved. And we had a volunteer for us at Bragg, and when she PCS, she stepped down and she started volunteering for a couple different organizations. And at first I was like, oh man, like she's such a great coordinator. But then like I thought about it and I thought about her career aspirations and what she loved. And I was like, no, she's in the right place for herself. She is where she belongs. And I'm so fortunate that she was a part of our team for the time that she was, but she is where
Yep.
she's going to do the most impact. And I think that's just so cool to see spouses grow. I'm a mama bird, guys. I will take you under my wing and guide you as much as I can. And I love to see everyone grow and go on their own journeys and get to sit there and be like, oh, I
Hmm.
helped her get that way. And not even like I'm taking like credit for that. It's just, oh, she is doing phenomenal in
We're
her
helping
life
the
right
people
now.
that are coming up behind us.
Yeah.
I am the seasoned spouse. Like, I get
Yeah.
it. My husband's transitioning. He will be retiring in June. Effective
Ooh.
is September 1. So I'm still in it, but like now the next person needs to come up. Right.
Yeah.
And so like we're
We're
making
hoping
it
to lay
easier for
the
them.
foundation for you guys to
Yeah.
continue to build up this community, and I think that that's why you guys are seeing so many different organizations come alive or more prominent or more in your scope because we want to make sure that the future military spouses are set up for success and aren't going through the same things that we went through because military life is so completely different from when I
Hmm.
joined. Jeremy's been in for I think it's 18 years this year. And so it's one of those things where I'm even just basic, like I, like my friend's husband's a drill and like they're telling me like how drill goes right now. And I'm like, that's so different from what it was like when Jeremy was in, or even just like 10 years ago or 5
Yep.
years ago. So again, nothing's normal, y'all. And everything's going to be different. And there's times are changing and everything. Deployments are different, everything like that. So we are setting the foundation so we can continue to grow and to continue
Hmm.
to build a solid support system. So no matter when these changes occur, because they will occur, there are going to be individuals out here to support you guys. So we always end our podcast, Jessica, asking our guests to give your number one advice to a new spouse and a seasoned spouse. So what would your, and it could be combined if you're like, no, it's the
Hmm.
same no matter what, but do you have, what would you be for our listeners, if it was a new spouse or a seasoned spouse or a family member, what would you be your advice to give?
So once upon a time, I used to get to meet with the spouses right before the Coast Guard recruits graduated from boot camp. I got them for an hour and a half before they barely tuned into me. They're so excited to see their person that they haven't seen in 8 weeks. I get it. But one of the things that we would always tell them is like, embrace the yes, embrace trying new things. We don't grow when we stick with what's comfortable. It's comfortable for a reason. So really embrace everything, embrace the travel. Yes, you may get stationed in places that you don't necessarily would have wanted to go to, but what is there that you can do? Perspective is everything. So for a younger spouse, I would say that. For a seasoned spouse, I would say I think it really is incumbent upon us to make it easier for the ones coming behind us. I always think of the Vietnam era and what they came home
Yes.
to. And it just, I know what my uncle went through because I've heard the stories and it absolutely breaks me. But look how far we've come. Look what those service members and veterans of that era did to improve programming. Do you think they had TRICARE for families? No, they didn't. The reason why we have it is because of someone else.
Yeah,
So you could be that next new
that
thing. You could
person.
be that change. Yes, you could be that person. So seasoned spouses, I think we almost have whatever it is. Even if you impact one person, you don't have to run. It's
No,
not
no, no.
about big things.
One person, everybody. We keep saying that. I tell that to my coordinators. If only one person shows up to your event, you have made a massive difference in that one person's life. And they're going to
100%.
then make it go down the line. And that's okay. It's okay to only
It's
make an
perfect.
impact with one person, because you're not just making an impact with one person. That person's then going to go down the line and share
Mm-hmm.
the information that they got. And then that's going to go down the line. And that's going to go down the line.
Yep.
And then it's going to fan out and it's going to meet other people.
Yep.
So just remember that. I think that is so important and such good advice to share. And again, advice that you guys hear over and over again here on the podcast for the last 5.5 seasons. So we are so thankful that you came over on
I
today.
love it.
And I cannot wait to continue to support the MilSpouseFest and the team. And we are here to support you guys. So make sure you guys are following along. We'll share all the information in our show notes. And if you are in any of the locations in San Diego or Norfolk or overseas or Puerto Rico, make sure you guys sign up for the event. It's free to attend. You can bring your babies, your kids along with you if you do not have childcare. So keep that in mind, that it should be no reason to deter you from going unless you can't get off work. I think that will be like the only reason that would be.
And we have an evening event for you. So,
Yeah,
and
and you
I've
can go to
spent,
either
yeah,
one. Yeah.
I've heard from spouses that have messaged me and been like, I don't have a ride. And I have found a ride for that
Yeah.
spouse.
And I think if you
Will
guys just
Way.
say, "Hey," put in the spouse chats like, "Hey, is anyone going to this? We only have one car. I don't have another car, or I don't, whatever the case, can someone."
Yep.
I would have picked up people in a heartbeat. I think that is,
That's who we are.
if you just ask the ask and get a yes. Like I tell that again, that's something I say all the time. Don't be afraid to ask, because worst case is someone's just going to be no answers or a no, but then it's just a no
Hmm.
and you're going to try another way. There is no, I feel like there is no like right or wrong answer in this avenue
No.
of our lifestyle, that if you simply ask and you're brave enough to be like, okay, I'm going to get in a car with a stranger who's a military spouse who is just there to help support you, then go for it. But I think that's where, if you see someone who is constantly in the community talking and lifting people up, that it's a safe bet that they're going to be a person. I used to pick up a spouse at Bragg. Myself or another coordinator would pick up a spouse to come to our social events because they did not have a car. They did not have a car. And she was like, I really want to come and I really need it. And we're like, we'll make it work.
Yeah.
absolutely, like, we'll make it work, and we would go pick them up, and we would bring them to the coffee, and then it was just a really, and you could just tell that it was just so important that they got out of the house and they had that community.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Jessica, for coming on, and everyone that's listening, I hope you guys are trekking through this life with your head held high and that you are finding the support that you need. And if you need something, please don't hesitate to reach out. We have a long list of resources and advocates and a network that we can connect you with if you guys are needing support in some form of another. We will do our best to help you guys find that. And like we like to say, ruck up, Buttercup.